Let me guess. You just wanted to see a house, and suddenly there's paperwork. And you're thinking, why am I even signing something before I even know if I like this house? That's totally fair. And today, I'm breaking down the two buyer forms that people get confused by the most: the single property showing agreement and the buyer agency form. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what each form does, what it doesn't do, and which one actually protects you. And no, I'm not trying to trick you into signing something today. Here's the simplest way to think about it. One form lets me show you a house. The other form means that you're actually hiring me as your realtor. Those are two very different things. Let's start with the small one first, because that's usually where the confusion starts to begin with. Alright, this is the single property buyer agreement. This form does one thing. It allows you to show one specific house, and that's it. So what does that mean? I can legally unlock the door. We can walk through the house, and you can decide whether you love it or whether you hate it. What does it not mean? It means that I am not your agent. I don't owe you any negotiating advice, and I don't owe you any confidentiality. I am not working for you long term. I am not your agent. I don't owe you anything like that. You don't owe me anything either. This is basically a permission slip. It's helpful, but it's very limited. So let's talk through the sections real quick. So see how it only lists one property address here? So it's just for one property. I can only show you one house at a time. If you want to see multiple properties, we have to have multiple of these signed. The length of agreement, this is for how long this lasts. So maybe you want to go back and see this house multiple days in a row. This can be for multiple days. It can be like for a week, something like that. Compensation. So this is where a lot of people get worried. They say, well, Chad, this means that I owe you money. Well, not necessarily. Our market right now, we're still seeing the seller pay the buyer agency fee out of their proceeds. If at closing time or when we make the offer, the seller just decided not to pay the buyer broker fee, you will know that ahead of time. Everything is disclosed to you ahead of time. You will know what you will owe at closing. You will know if you owe the buyer broker any money at closing. Everything is disclosed to you. Everything is transparent. You will know everything ahead of time. So if you're worried about having to pay the buyer broker fee out of your own pocket, you will know that before your offer gets accepted. So don't worry about having to pay the buyer broker fee out of your own pocket. Everything will be fine. Everything's transparent. Everything will be known to you ahead of time. There's some other things on here, for the best experience, I just recommend that you work with the same agent. Don't jump from agent to agent. There's some additional terms on here. Referral fee. So if I'm referred to you by like another agent that's out of state or something like that, it's being disclosed. And then this is where your name would go, and this is where you would sign, either electronically or in person, and then your email, so that we can communicate. And this is where I would sign. All right, guys. Now we're going to get into the good stuff. This next form is the buyer agency form. This is the form that allows me to go from the guy that opens the lockbox into your full-fledged agent. Allows me to negotiate on your behalf. Allows me to do a lot more stuff. Handle the paperwork and everything in between. So let's go over this form next. So this is the WB36. So this means that I am working for you. I work for you. I advise you, and I negotiate for you. We're working together, and I am your buyer's agent. I don't work for the seller. I don't work for the listing agent. Yes, it's exclusive. No, it's not a marriage. So first, we start here at the purchase price range. So typically what I put in here is up to your pre-approval amount. I would put, let's say you're pre-approved up to $300,000. I would put up to $300,000. Now, obviously, you don't have to buy a house up to that full amount, but it just keeps us from going back and amending this later on when you do finally buy a house. Excluded properties in here. So this is where you write down anything that you don't want to see. So if you saw a house with an agents already before you found me and my wife Aalia, we would put it in here. If you're looking at new construction on your own, you don't want to use an agent, which I strongly recommend against. Always use an agent even when you're looking at new construction, because new construction do tend to take advantage of buyers. But we'll put that in here. We can make this super customizable to you and your wants. So anything that you don't want to look at, or if you looked at previously with another agent, we'll put that all in here. Compensation. So this is where people get a little scared at. So we have a adjustable commission rate that we work with. It goes from a low end to a little bit of a higher end, depending on what you need and what you're looking to do. But our commission is flexible. It is negotiable, as it should be with every agent that you're working with. So this is where we put it at. Now, buyers always worry, do I have to bring the commission to the closing table? Well, 99% of sellers right now are still paying the buyer's agent commission out of their proceeds. Now, of that 1% of sellers that are not paying it out of their proceeds, we will know that before we get to closing. When you put your offer to purchase in, we ask them to pay the buyer's agent commission at closing, and they will either say yes, that's fine, or they will counter it out and say no, we don't want to pay any of the buyer's agent commission, or we'll only pay part of the buyer's agent commission. So you'll know that before your offer is even accepted. So before you even get to the closing table, before we close on the house, you'll know if you have to pay my fee or not. So don't worry about the buyer's agent commission, whether or not you get to pay it or not at closing. We will know that before you close on a house. As we scroll down here, we have the earnest money part. This usually gets trumped by the offer to purchase, but it do have a little bit of a blurb in here about it. It just says that it gets held by usually a third party, either the title company holds on to earnest money, or sometimes a listing firm holds on to it, or even my firm can hold on to earnest money. Just saying that earnest money, when you do put it in an offer onto a house, doesn't get held on to by me or the seller or anything like that. It's a neutral third party that holds on to the earnest money. So now let's talk about duties. Let's talk about my duties to you. So this section really matters. This talks about what I owe to you and what you owe to me. So I owe to you loyalty, confidentiality, advice, negotiation, and full disclosure. So this is where I stop being neutral and I start being on your side. So when we start looking at houses, I'm going to tell you what I actually think about the house. If I see mold up in the corner of the house, of the ceiling, I'll tell you what I think about the house. If I think this house is right for you, if I think you should proceed with the house, or if I think you should move on from the house. I'll tell you if I think this house fits you and your lifestyle, or if I think that this house is not right for you. I'll tell you what I think about the neighborhood. I'll tell you what I know about it, and all that stuff. This is also where I owe you confidentiality, and this is huge. So if you tell me what your max budget is, your timeline, your motivation, and your worries, well, I can't tell anybody else. It's just between you and me. I can't tell the seller. I can't tell the listing agent. I can't share it with anybody else. But it helps me a lot when I'm helping you find a house. But, if you're moving here because of a job relocation and you have to buy within the next 2 weeks, maybe you're willing to pay a little over asking price. But I can't tell the seller that. So the seller doesn't need to know that. But it helps me to help you find a house. But the seller doesn't need to know that. So it really helps me and you find a house, but the seller doesn't need to know that. So that's good for us to know, but not for them to know. So as we continue to scroll down here, this is just more standard legal language that the lawyers put in all these contracts that you'll see throughout the whole buying process. We get down here to multiple representation. So this is how you're represented as a buyer. So the same firm may represent both me and the other party as long as the same agent is not representing both of us. So if you buy an EXP listed house, you're okay with that, but you don't want the same agent representing both of you. So that means that typically you as the buyer, you'll go find another agent, because usually the listing agent stays with the same agent. So if you're working with me and you're buying one of my listings, then typically you'll go find yourself another buyer's agent to help you. And I work with lots of really great buyer's agents, so I can definitely refer you to somebody without a problem if that does happen. But usually what I do for my buyer's agents, I check this middle box because this is just easier for everybody and works out the best. The same firm may represent both me and the other party, but the firm may remain neutral. So EXP remains neutral. EXP has yours and the seller's best interest at heart, which I do too. But the same agent may represent both you and the listing agent. Is all that means. So you and the seller are both using the same agent, so neither one of you have to change. And this third option is the same firm cannot represent both you and the other party. So if you're buying an EXP listing, that means that you have to go find a completely different firm to help you. So if you're using me as your buyer's agent and you're going to buy an EXP listing, you don't want that at all. That means you have to go find a completely different firm, like a Coldwell Banker or a Remax, to help you buy that house then. EXP does not do sub-agency. That just is not good for buyers. Confidential information, that just means that anything that you don't want anybody else to know that we didn't already cover up there before. Non-confidential information, this is like information like, let's say you had $100,000 in the bank to help you buy a house, and you want me to tell sellers, I have all this money sitting in the bank to help me close on the house really fast and help make my offer even stronger. And you want me to tell sellers this information, then we will put that information in here, and I can go ahead and disclose this to sellers and help make your offers even stronger. More standard legal information for you to read through and help put you to sleep at night. Lien notices, this has to do with title work. And this is where we get down here to how information is delivered to you. So this has not been updated in a really long time. So obviously, we put our names in here. Fax, nobody uses faxes except for doctor's offices still. Commercial delivery, so I could still send you information about like UPS, FedEx, USPS. US mail, I could still mail you stuff if I want to. You can mail me stuff. I could take stuff to you in person to your home address. Email, this is how we typically do stuff. So I would check this box here. I would put your email address in here and then my email address in here. And then I usually just send you stuff electronically to sign. And that's usually how we sign most contracts and execute them. Additional provisions, this is anything extra that is not covered already in the contract that we want in the contract. And then the term of the contract. So usually this starts on the day that we start looking at houses. And then I typically put this out for at least 6 months to a year, just because we don't want to be signing this every 2 or 3 months. Right now in December of 2025, it's taking buyers on average 2 to 3 months to find a house. Even though the inventory is really low right now, it's still taking them about 2 or 3 months to find a house. Typically, some are a little faster, some are a little longer. But I'd still put this out about 6 months to a year, because even after 3 months, we don't want this to expire during the process. And if I put it out a full year, then it just gives us that little extra buffer. So that's why I put it out 6 months to a year. Wire fraud in here, this just means don't wire any money without knowing where it goes to. EXP has their own version of this, so when you work with us, we'll have to sign a different form of this for EXP. You will sign right here on this line. If you're a company buying investment properties, you would sign down here on this line. This is my firm's name right here, and I would sign down here on this line. And that is the WB36 buyer agency form. So here's the general takeaway about both forms. The single property showing agreement is one house, limited help, and no confidentiality. No long-term representation. It's just simply opening the door, taking you through the house, and letting you take a look at it. The buyer agency agreement, on the other hand, is full representation, negotiation help, confidentiality, my advice, and protection throughout the whole transaction. So if you're serious about buying, the second one is actually what has your back. If you ever want to walk through these forms before signing anything, just text me. No pressure, no sales pitch, just clarity. My number is 262-331-1621. Or you can check out our website at chadscottrealty.com. And yes, I'll still show you homes, even if you have questions first.